Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for business news with William Edwards. Hello, William. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to start off with that very serious incident. One of Boeing's new Dreamliner aircraft had to make an emergency landing in Japan.
Yes, the 787 Dreamliner landed in Takamatsu. It was diverted from Tokyo, with some passengers slightly injured when they had to get off the emergency exits. An issue with the batteries apparently at fault. Now, this is not the first time that the 787 has had trouble. All Nippon Airways say they are going to be sticking with their strategy for the airline. Just in the last few minutes that news has come out. But let's take a look at some of the difficulties the 787 has had.
Wednesday's emergency landing spelled yet more trouble for the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. All Nippon Airways said details of the problem are still being checked, but the incident is the latest in a series of technical faults for the Boeing. On Tuesday, Japan's transport minister promised to investigate.
We plan to look into the scale of these accidents and what the overall situation is. We will convey the message to those who operate the plane that it's absolutely necessary to be safe.
ANA 787s have encountered several problems in the past 2 weeks, though no injuries have been reported. On January the 7th, there was a fire aboard an empty Japan Airlines 787 Dreamliner. On the 8th, another JA 787 to Tokyo was grounded in Boston. And on the 9th, ANA cancelled a Dreamliner flight due to brake problems. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was hailed as a milestone in the aviation industry. Its lightweight composite materials, electronics and impressive fuel efficiency made it revolutionary in aircraft design. Boeing's finances are already under threat due to exceeding its budget and being over 3 years behind schedule in delivering its Dreamliner planes. Shares for Dreamliner suppliers in Japan came under pressure on Wednesday. Fuji and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries were two companies which recorded a decline of between 1.6 and 4.2%. ANA shares slipped by 1.62%. On Friday, the US Aviation Authority, the FAA, announced an in-depth safety review of the 787's design. The Indian aviation regulator is set to follow suit.
Well, earlier I spoke to our Tokyo correspondent Gavin Blair and I asked him what the likely impact would be on the Japanese airline industry.
This will have a major effect on Japan's two major carriers, JAL and ANA. JAL, the former national carrier, had only emerged from bankruptcy protection less than a year ago. Both airlines were then hit with the aftermath of the 2011 triple disasters, which saw a huge drop-off in travel to Japan. Then again last year, the territorial dispute with China saw a great deal of cancelled flights between those two countries. ANA in particular, this is a huge setback for them. They were the launch customer of this plane, and they were involved right back to the design stage. And in fact, a third of the parts for the plane were actually developed by Japanese companies. And ANA had predicted that it was going to save more than $110 million on fuel. This was supposed to be the most efficient plane in the sky in its first year of operation. However, this looks more likely that it's going to now cost them money.
Gavin Blair there in Tokyo. William, how are the markets then doing?
Well, let's take a look at how the US markets closed yesterday. And it was a mixed picture with the Nasdaq being pulled down. Poisoned Apple at the centre of that. Apple having big falls again for another day, 3.2%, after rumours that its iPhone is seeing slower than expected sales. Let's take a look at how Asian markets are going as well. The Nikkei has now closed, and you can see that all of the major Asian markets are firmly down there. The Nikkei was at its highest since April 2010 in the previous session, so some profit-taking going on there, as well as the yen getting stronger, worrying investors a little bit.
Well, that's how things are looking at the moment, and the World Bank has been making predictions for how things are going to go throughout the year, and they're not good.
Well, in their Global Economic Prospects report, the World Bank have encouraged developing economies to keep going with the pace of liberalising reforms. And we spoke to Andrew Burns, who was the lead author of this report. He's warned that the economic recovery will remain slow in 2013.
We have high-income countries grew only 1.3% last year in 2012. We expect them to do only 1.3% again in 2013. So that's going to be a difficult thing to deal with. In the U.S., we expect growth to slow a little bit because of the fiscal consolidation in there. In the euro area, we expect growth to start picking up during the course of the year, but nevertheless, growth for the whole year will be slightly negative at minus 0.1%.
Right, well, William, we're going to move here in France now because more job losses for the French car maker Renault.
Yeah, 7,500 jobs are going to be cut between now and 2016. Of course, this comes after Peugeot Citroën. They plan to cut 8,000 jobs partly at their Aulnay-sous-Bois factory. Renault hoping not to close any factories, but just to take advantage of natural wastage, not replace those people who are going to be leaving the company anyway. You can see here why they're doing this. This is their sales over the last few years. And you can see 2012, even though that's the first 11 months, it's not going to top those previous figures just in December, I'd imagine. So you can see there why they are having to cut back. Renault boss Carlos Ghosn, he is at the Detroit Motor Show. He said he's going to look for an agreement with unions that will make the company more competitive.
What we want is a win-win agreement in which the company ends up being more competitive and by doing so attracts more work, especially within our operations in France.
Now, all this week, we're looking at the issue of youth unemployment around the Eurozone, one of the biggest challenges facing the region. Today, we're looking at Ireland. Now, the struggling country has been bailed out, and it has seen not quite as bad jobless rates as some of the other nations in the Eurozone, but some say that's only because there's been so much emigration by young people. Now, many are coming back, but it's still just as difficult to find a job, as Hervé Emerick and Stuart Lamb report.
In Ireland, 30% of young people under 26 are signing on for job seekers' benefit. Connell graduated in graphics design 2 years ago, but he still can't find work. Spent a year in New Zealand, but now he's back.
Friends were starting to get work, and I thought, well, maybe there's a turnaround in the economy, maybe I'll be a bit luckier this time. So I came back to Ireland, but it has actually been the same story. I've been trying to find work and haven't been successful yet, but I'm going to keep trying.
Since last summer, he has been knocking on many doors, offering his services for free.
Ideally, I would like to get some experience in the field that I'm qualified in. This is the goal for me, because while there may not be jobs out there right now, in the future there will be, and I want to have that little bit of experience to maybe give me a little bit of an edge.
Today, Connell is again looking for a work placement. The Irish government has been criticised by employers for not doing enough to provide professional training.
I think the government could make an effort to provide incentives for companies like ourselves to help people get work experience and offer them training.
Like Connell, Kevin studied graphics and 3D animation, but he works as a receptionist in a hostel.
I feel my degree is being wasted. Then again, out of my class, out of the 30 people in my class, only around half have gotten work in multimedia, whereas me, I don't have a job in the multimedia yet, but I am very fortunate to even have a job in the current economic climate.
Ireland's trade and economy may be improving, but with the government's austerity plan, few jobs are being created.
Now, William, after pressure from UK politicians, Goldman Sachs has backed down on a rather controversial tax plan that it had.
Yeah, they were considering putting off paying bonuses until after April, because that's when a new lower rate of tax comes in the UK. Now, at the moment, it's 50% and has been since the previous Labour government put it up a few years ago. And in April, it is dropping down, not by much, but to 45% for incomes over £150,000, about £180,000.
Does make a big difference if you've got a big bonus, doesn't it?
Well, if you've got £1 million bonus, that is £50,000. So, but they have now said they're not going to go ahead with those plans. They're not going to delay those bonuses after politicians and, of course, many in the press came out against it. And the opposition Labour Party say they've made the right decision, although, of course, they still say they criticise the government for actually dropping the top rate in the first place.
Okay, well, bonuses coming sooner than expected then for Goldman Sachs employees. Thank you very much indeed, William Edwards, for that look at today's business news. That's all from us for now, but don't go away because Stuart Norval will be here with all the latest headlines in just a few minutes, right after the international weather next.